Welcome to Manhwa Recaps, spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. Huge shout out and special thanks to the channel members. The manhwa starts by showing us a man who says that his name is Kim Jang-kil, an ordinary graduate school student in Korea. At least that's what he used to be. But he decides that yapping about the game's story has no meaning because it's something that's been heard hundreds of times, but the problem currently is something much different. A man then enters, calling out towards him, and we are introduced to his aide, Zephyrus, who is level 15. I guess since it's a game world, they all have levels. He tells Kratos that the preparations for war have been completed. As we see a whole army of demons lying in wait, one of them says that they're going to end their starvation with today's great invasion, and he has an edgy name called the Prince Who Drinks Blood. He is level 534, and his name is Asurit. There's also a woman who is named Sergei, who is level 531, with the title of Cold Monarch. There's the Archduke of Fog, Hardik, level 555, as well as the Black Boulder tyrant named Bale, who is level 539. As they all start cheering on both Kratos and Zephyrus, Kratos yells, telling them all to listen up. They all start to lock in, and he explains to us that this war must be stopped at all cost. But he's about to give them his first official order, and Bro is building up the tension by taking his words extremely slowly, making sure that everybody is paying attention. But of course they don't know what's about to come next, as he tells them their plan is to actually stop the attack and start farming instead. They all just kind of stare at him for a second, and yell saying that shit is absurd. But he screams back, while in reality he is terrified. It works though, because it causes them all to tense up, but he explains that if they start this war, it would at low-key be the end of them. We see a man grabbing the edge of a coffin, and a status window appears saying that he has started his 20th playthrough. He slowly rises up, and we see a playable character named Aged Kimchi who is level 9990. Kratos explains that he will definitely die by this man's hands. Lore class is in session. He became a graduate student in a farming course within Korea University in hopes of becoming a rich farmer. He was pretty clever, so he became the ace of his course in no time. Being the top graduate student meant that he was constantly doing favors for others, such as helping them write their theses, doing projects for them, as well as just physical labor. He was pretty much just their slave, and was taken advantage of for labor every day. He low-key thought he was living in hell, asking why he's doing all the work when the professors are getting the credit. He had zero dopamine left, so he was on the verge of going pretty crazy. The only way for him to get that dopamine back was to play games, a game that was super difficult and very hard to level up in. No player had cleared this game for the 19th time, but he says he wanted to feel a sense of achievement so badly that he played the game without sleeping at all. In Seoul, he became the first person to clear the Paladin of Blood for the 19th time. As we see the Demon King, Kratos, being defeated. Dark Souls vibes. He was just sitting there so happy, saying that he's the strongest in the world, but explains that the 20th playthrough will be of an insanely hellish difficulty, and he should level up first before trying. So he grinded his character up to level 9990. He says that he's only 9 levels away from the max, and he wonders how many years he spent of his life on this game, but he decided that it was time to see it through with the 20th playthrough. He clicked the button, but all of a sudden his screen was very bright, and he felt a pulling sensation as his soul itself was yanked out of his body, flying straight into the screen. When he opened his eyes, he was flying through the sky, straight down towards the ground. He tells himself to calm down since he's clever, but he's low-key freaking out. He says that he's blue, which means this is his soul, and that if he falls he won't die. He spots a familiar place, which is the Tower of Life, saying that this means he's entered the game. He then spots the Tomb of the Paladin, and he says that for him to possess his character, Aged Kimchi, which is almost max level, would mean that he's invincible, and he's going to be living life on easy mode. As he flies in, he realizes that he's dressed up like a magical girl, and he doesn't want to be seen wearing that shit. His soul then took a different course, and he wonders where he's going now. It was none other than the body of the Demon King, and that is how we got to where we are now. Kratos says the shit is driving him nuts, and if he hadn't had that stupid thought, after looking at Aged Kimchi, he would have become the most overpowered character. It then jumps to Zephyrus walking down the hall. He overhears the people we introduced earlier talking about how Kratos has gotten weaker, and that's why he got scared and stopped their attack. They continue, about how they should join hands together and cut his head off, and share authority of the throne. Hardik has the thought of what if he didn't get weaker, and if that is the case then 2 out of the 4 of them will definitely die. Sergei says that if a Surat offers to be their shield, they'll give it a try. Ball's head is empty, bro just hungry. A Surat says that if he has evidence that he has gotten weaker, maybe they'll change their mind. They all agree that if that's the case, they'll kill him, except Bale of course. Bro head empty. Zephyrus overhears their plan, then reports back to Kratos, saying that the morale of their army has completely plummeted. There have been more cases of people attacking and devouring each other internally, and some also left the land of the demons without notice. And he informs him that the 4 great demon generals are enraged, saying that he's gotten weaker, and are planning to work together to cut his head off. Kratos says if they attack him together, he's definitely cooked, but if he shows them that he's weak, it'll be GG too. He then starts to wonder about aged kimchi, saying that since he didn't possess it, maybe it's just a corpse, and that charging into the human world could be a better choice here. But on cue, Zephyrus says that they filmed a video of the tomb of the paladin, and it was sent by General Ogamiya. On the orb, we see aged kimchi beating the absolute shit out of somebody, and even slowly reaching his hands forward, gouging out their eyes. As they start screaming, Kratos looks horrified, and aged kimchi holds up the recording device while glaring at it. Kratos says that he definitely does not want to meet aged kimchi at all, and he must stay in this place no matter what happens. At this rate, he'll either appear weak or choose to surrender, and the 4 great demon generals will kill him. But if he charges into the human world, aged kimchi will kill him instead. He wonders why the hell he had to come into this game world, and he can't even find happiness, but that the only way to resolve this would be to make sure that he gave the demons food and calmed them down. As he stands up, Zephyrus asks where he's going, so he tells him he's going to look at some lands for farming, and Zephyrus hits him with a very confused what. Kratos is also confused on why this is weird, and Zephyrus says that for him to show manners like this is pretty strange, as he usually wouldn't even listen to his reply, and that this is gross, and he should never do that again. Kratos wonders what's wrong with this guy, and if he's always just been playing such a weird character. Zephyrus appeared just once before the battle with the Demon King without any explanation, but that actually made him quite a popular character, as he would always tell the paladin to go back, as the Demon Lord no longer wishes to fight, only for him to get straight up one-shotted regardless of what attack is used, because he's just level 15. And his final words are him begging Kratos for forgiveness for being too weak to protect him. And it made the players think that he was very loyal to the Demon Lord or disrespected him. As he keeps yapping off Kratos' ear, Kratos says that he doesn't care what others think about him, he just finds him annoying. Zephyrus asks if he's really trying to farm in the land of the demons, saying that he didn't know his memory was the shit. Kratos reminds him that he's the Demon Lord, telling him not to push it, but Zephyrus says that he thinks he'll continue, and Kratos wonders why he's not scared. As they get to an open area, Zephyrus reminds him that both the former Demon Lords and even himself have already tried farming in this land. With the harsh and extreme temperature differences, he should be well aware that nothing grows here. Kratos says he knows that this is called the Land of Death, but with his current abilities, it is definitely possible to save this land. While he got really tired of farming, he needs to survive first and foremost. He grabs down, picking up a handful of the dirt, and what the hell, bro is eating it. Zephyrus says that it seems as if the Demon Lords become a weirdo who's eating dirt, and Kratos tells him to stop writing that down. Zephyrus says that he's just performing his duties, which is him recording the Demon Lord's chronicles, and that the Demon Lord's ability to remember things sure has gone downhill. Kratos says this dude's a real pain in the ass, and in any case here, the ground here definitely has no nutrients, and that nitrogen is an element that is absolutely necessary for the growth of plants. Plants are unable to make use of the nitrogen in the air by themselves, even though it makes up 78% of the atmosphere, because the atoms form solid triple bonds, making it nearly impossible for them to undergo chemical reaction. Thus, humanity developed the nitrogen fixation process through chemical engineering, leading to a huge increase in food production, and for him to do that here would be impossible, as there's nothing to be used as the foundation for farming. That means that he needs to make use of the nitrogen fixation mechanism in nature itself, which is none other than lightning. Using its high voltage, nitrogen is oxidized into nitrate, it then mixes with rainwater and gets absorbed into the soil, and the main technique of the Demon Lord happens to be perfect for this. Thanks for the chemistry lesson. As we see him scratch his hand drawing blood, it falls towards the ground and shocks the player, killing them, as it's called Bloody Strike. It explodes both lightning and moisture at the same time, and it's a technique made for creating fertile soil. Kratos tells Zephyrus to stand back, and he starts to scratch his hand to draw blood, but screams instead because that shit hurts, and he says that there's no way he does this every time. And when he turns around, he realizes something, as the 4 great generals are watching him, saying that he's definitely gotten weaker. Of course, besides Bale, Bro is hitting the Moai emoji. Kratos starts to panic, and Zephyrus says he's gotten weaker. Kratos says he's definitely an assassin, and his plan is to provoke him to kill him, and that this is better than dying, so he scratches his hand, committing to the technique, and he yells it out after throwing his blood onto the ground, saying Bloody Strike. As his blood flows through the air, about to come into contact with the ground, he just continues bleeding, then starts screaming while grabbing onto his hand and hopping around. The 4 great generals then approach him, asking if he's starting to feel a little unwell, and he realizes this is going to be awful. It then jumps to aged Kimchi, staring off into the distance, saying that it's faint, but he has memories of his previous life. He's lived this life more than 10 times, and he was headed for the Demon King, and he moved because of the summon of duty that led him here, but now it's gone, and it no longer tells him what to do, and he wonders what exactly he's meant to live for currently. As he's no longer a playable character, he's an NPC. Feeling lost, he then heads away from where the Demon King's land is. Maybe Bro can have the world's most op bodyguard. As he starts getting closer, Asurat says that surely he knows the rules of the demons and that the strongest is the Demon Lord. Kratos says each one of these dudes are scary because they're hella strong and he can't even use his skill, and he wonders if this is the end for him. As he starts shaking out of pure fear, Asurat mistakes it as pressure, saying that the fight hasn't even started but he's already gathering his strength to the point that his body is trembling. He sweats a little nervously but smirks, asking if he really can defeat the 4 of them in his current state. But when he turns around, he sees the rest actually already hidden behind the tree again, and he wonders what the hell is wrong with them. But they're just waiting to see if the fight is remotely possible to them or not. Asurat starts sweating nervously, saying that they sure are evil bastards, and of course, they're demons, so they are evil. Zephyrus then raises his hand. He starts to livestream it to all of the demon world, saying that based on the long-time tradition of the demons, all fights are to the death and there's no giving up. Asurat says that he shouldn't get scared and he'll win this as long as he is weakened. But Kratos is panicking, wondering what to do about this. He tested his strength, since the Demon Lord should be very strong, but he's not that strong. At least in the term of being a Demon Lord. Asurat then raises his arm sword thingy back. Kratos says he's seen this movement in the game and it's either a thrust or a slash, but there's no way that he can dodge something like this. But he does exactly that and surprises himself, asking how he did this. He then looks at Asurat's feet, saying that since his left foot is pointing outwards, it means that he's going to use a thrust. It's the exact same as the motion inside the game. As Asurat distances himself once more, Hardik and Sergei start talking amongst themselves, and he wonders why Kratos didn't rip off Asurat's arm, because based off his expression, that's what he was going for. Sergei says they should just continue observing. Asurat comes in with another attack, which Kratos dodges again, but he's so confused, wondering what's happening and how every one of his movements are exactly the same as the game's. When he first met Asurat, he was absolutely taken aback, wondering if he was even possible to be defeated, because he's fast, throws in feints that are offbeat, and even has a wide range of attacks. But after dying, he was finally able to defeat him for the first time on his 128th attempt. And in the next 19 playthroughs, he was able to completely make a fool out of him by having a no-hit run. As Asurat screams, charging in, Kratos says that this actually is pretty good, because there's no way his attacks are going to hit him, since he knows what they are going to be beforehand, and he even begins laughing. Hardik and the rest start shaking with fear. As Kratos begins to mock and taunt Asurat, dodging his attacks as if he was playing with him, Hardik says that he's laughing at Asurat for being weak and enjoying himself, and that they knew something was wrong. And they knew this was too good to be true. Asurat grits his teeth, calling him a scumbag. And as Kratos dodges another attack, he says this is such a relief, but of course this doesn't mean he can defeat him, but he has realized something important. The world shares the same rules as the game. A status window then appears, telling him that he has realized the basic rule of this world, but calls him by his real name Jankiel. Kratos is surprised, saying that this is the message he frequently sees in webtoons, and it says that he has also succeeded at dodging his enemies' attacks with high concentration. As a reward, a part of the game system that is used by playable characters has been unlocked, and he now has acquired the targeting function. Kratos wonders what exactly this is, and he sees a little crosshair appear on a turret, and he says this is the targeting that's used when using special skills. So now he understands what exactly that means, as he scratches his hands once more. He throws his blood at him, yelling out the name of his ability. That cannot be sanitary. Bro should get tested after this one. As a turret gets absolutely blasted to piss by the lightning attack, the rest just look shocked because they thought he'd grown weaker. A turret drops to his knees, and the rest start cheering on Kratos from behind the screen. Kratos then starts glaring down at a turret, who's coughing after still recovering from the attack. Kratos can't believe that he's still alive after being hit by an attack that causes instant death, and that he's got great recovery, so he'll have his energy in no time. So he starts playing guitar on his wrist, hitting him over and over with the attack, and the rest mistake it as him purposely not using all of his power and just playing with him, but Kratos just wonders what the hell is going on, because he can't kill him, and what he can do about this. The status window says that he has torn off all of a turret's clothes, and now he is naked, and he wonders why it would even tell him this, saying that he's not a pervert. It then grants him a new system, which is the inventory's armor removal unlocked. Kratos wonders if there's going to be some kind of good armor in here, but all he sees is what he's currently wearing. He doesn't see anything that can be used. He says he has to get rid of a turret first, and he's not that strong, so he can't kill him, and his recoverability is greater than his damage output. He then realizes something, saying that since he's not dead, he can still target him, and he can also keep firing bloody strikes, but he can also use this chance to infuse the ground with tons of nitrogen. And he hits a Lloyd face, saying that he's the smartest, and he can tell that the rest of them are terrified now, and he decides to go ahead and test it out. He calls up to Sergei, and she asks what he wants. He tells her to tie up a turret tightly. She blushes, saying that if he wants her to tie up a pretty much naked dude, and she mistakes it as him wanting to humiliate the both of them. But of course, it's a multi-step plan. The first step is to prepare the lightning rod, which is a turret. R.I.P. bro. As the colors start to return back to his face, he yells, saying that he has completely recovered, and that he's indeed gotten weaker. Since he can't kill him with bloody strike, so he'll definitely get out of this and cut his head off. And this is where step 2 comes in, which is just bloody strike over and over and over. With this, he can oxidize the nitrogen in the air into nitrate, and he tells Hardik that he wants him to cover this whole area with fog, and it has to be so thick that water will be flowing. Hardik starts to mistake it, asking if he intends to make this whole place wet so he can make the lightning more painful, and that this sure is a creative way of torture. And he's learned something new today, as he puts his arms to his shoulders to prepare casting his spell. He does exactly that. As the fog begins to envelop the area, so does the rain it forms. And then step 4 is a strike and repeat over and over. As Kratos is zapping him, he says this shit hurts, but Zephyrus just watches, completely straight-faced. The rest though look on in horror at the sight of this madman, and even Asurat looks horrified, because bro is making an evil-ass face, saying with this, he can make the land here perfect for farming, and he can get some bountiful harvest. And that he's getting excited. So he continues zapping away at Asurat, over and over and over, until he felt satisfied enough with the land. As he picks up some of the dirt, he says this is good, he just needs to keep infusing nitrogen using this method. And next, he'll be improving the soil. Here's another chemistry lesson. He explains that this loose, monovalent structured soil neither allows oxygen to enter nor drains water well. And for farming, crumbly, granular structured soil is ideal, which is why the thing he has to create now is none other than Manwha. And he tells them all to get him some shit. And he means that literally. They all sit there, confused about the situation, soaked in blood and rain, saying that there's no way after making an example out of Asurat and grilling him, he wants to smear him with shit. That's just unbelievably cruel. Back to the other side of the world, Kimchi is walking through a forest as somebody begs for help. He peeks over a bush, seeing a couple people. He wonders what he's looking at. But to the rest of us educated folks, we see it's none other than the Temu version of Lloyd Frontera and Javier, because this is made by the same guy if you didn't know. As they beg him for help, they look up at his outfit. As he stares at them, they start making horrified faces. And he tells them not to worry, as he's not suspicious, but they say they can't believe that because he looks horrifying. Kimchi asks them if they hurt their leg, and then picks up the Temu version of Javier as he starts screaming. And he tells the Temu Lloyd to lead the way. They then start introducing themselves, and it's literally just Javier and Lloyd spelled backwards. Javier asks Kimchi if he may know who he is, and Kimchi says starting from now on, that's what he needs to find out. Back to the demon world. Inside the castle, the other three great generals are sitting down at their tables. Hardik asks how exactly they're supposed to just bring poop, and if they had to just do it on the spot or something. Sergei is biting her nails, saying this is crazy and is pretty damn gross. Bale says it's been a while since he last ate, so he cannot poop. And that Sergei doesn't poop either. She tells him to stop talking about it like that. And Hardik says that even if they can, he doesn't want to supply him with his. And they should go beat up the low-ranking demons and make them start doing it instead. It then jumps to a village on the outskirts. And a man is begging that they let him go, saying that he can't go if they're all watching him and to go wait outside because he's a shy pooper. One of the demons says that the other said the same thing. But before he can finish his sentence, Hardik asks what's taking so long and if he can't provide them, no matter how hard he tries. The dude says that he hasn't eaten in a while, so he has nothing to really let out. Hardik grabs him by the throat, saying that he just got a really good idea, thanks to him. As he reaches forward with his attack, the man starts screaming. But before he dies, we see Bale actually reach out, stopping Hardik from killing him. Hardik asks what it is. Bale says that if he kills him, that means that he'll die and there will be no poop. And since that's what they need, he can't kill them because they have to produce it. But he speaks like a really slow guy. Hardik says that's pretty smart considering it's coming from him, and that if he feeds them with his meat, maybe they'll start defecating. He begins glaring up at Bale. But Bale is totally about that life and he glares back. Well, poor guy is just getting caught in the crossfires. As they start to attack one another, Kratos yells, asking what the hell they are doing out here. And tells them that it's not just humans and demons who shit. Then it jumps back to the castle. He tells them there's no use for feces that have no nutritional value. And they need to look for feces that can be used for manure. Zephyrus asks what that is. Kratos tells him that it's the ingredient that provides the fuel of nutrients. Normally it is made with wood and ashes, weeds, soil, eggshells, and chicken shit. For wood and ashes and weeds, they can just use those empty houses he saw before. The problem is the eggshells and chicken shit. He then comes up with something. He tells Zephyrus to bring him the map of the land. Zephyrus says okay and does exactly that. Kratos starts looking at it, saying that, as expected, it's the exact same one from the game. Which means he should be able to find them once he gets to this place. And that it is the habitat of the demon seagulls. In the game, there are plenty of them all over the field. This indicates that the seagulls can ingest a great deal of nutrients from the human's land, and then they poop and lay eggs. So that makes it the perfect place. Zephyrus asks if he's intending to collect the feces of the demon seagulls. Kratos says he's pretty quick to catch on. And Zephyrus tells him that the place is called the cliff from which one cannot return. And there are no stable holds, so if he falls, he'll get caught up in the rough waves. Kratos says he knows this much because that place is not systematically available for players to reach. But he knows damn well he can climb it. It then jumps to everybody there as he's about to show them he can do it. Hardik just wonders what he's thinking. Many have already challenged to hunt the seagulls from old times, but they end up falling prey to the waves. Kratos tells him that he'll climb to the top and throw down this bag that will contain feces and eggshells, and that they should make sure to catch it. And if this plan succeeds, everyone will be fed very well. Bale starts thinking about something, and it's none other than how scrawny and malnourished all of the villagers are. Bro's head might be empty, but he's just a wholesome guy. As the waves start crashing in, Kratos says that it was around his 13th playthrough, and he tried everything to get up there. It was hundreds of attempts, and he died over and over again in the process. As he leaps forward, the rest are all surprised that he's going head first into it. But Kratos knows damn well he can succeed because he's done it before. As he lands on the cliff, he says that he's actually going to abuse a glitch. As the cliff begins to crumble under his hands, the rest are surprised, thinking it's over. But he opens his equipment and instantly unequips everything. Thank God it's blurred out. They continue staring in absolute disbelief, as all that's left from the wall are Bro's bare cheeks. They can't believe what they are witnessing. Neither can I, the actual pro speedrunner strat. He then says that he needs to roll his body as he starts turning. Then Sergei closes her eyes and turns her head, screaming. On cue, Kratos equips all of his equipment. Thank God for that, because what a view. She starts to realize what she's about to see, so she screams, only for him to unequip it all yet again and go back to cheeks out. And he starts repeating this process over and over, as he slowly starts to ascend up the top of the cliff, until he gets his hands on the top with the cheeks still exposed. He stands up with all of his equipment, saying that shit was lightweight. In a world where the game system is shared without having an equipment inventory, and an edge of the map that no one can ever reach, and he put all these facts together, he experimented and was convinced that it was possible. As we see him testing it in his bedroom, still cheeks out. Bale says that since His Majesty said he will feed them all, he will go up and help him. Zephyrus tries to warn him that place is dangerous, but Bale runs forward anyways. Kratos turns, and Bale reaches for the cliff, saying that he will follow His Majesty. But Kratos yells, asking what the hell he's doing. As he grabs onto the cliff, it of course crumbles underneath. Kratos stretches his hand out, grabbing balls. Of course Bro is straight naked in the cliff, and he wonders why the hell this dude is so heavy, saying that his arm is going to be ripped off. He wonders why he's trying to save this guy, since he's one of the 4 demon generals, which are a threat to him, and that he'd be better off gone. He tells Bale he has no reason to help him. And while he's still debating on what to do, he recalls back when one of his friends begged him for help, as the professor was not letting him submit his essay because he wanted to use him as a work slave forever, asking if he could talk to him in his stead, that way he can at least look at his friend's essay. His friend's logic was that since the professors loved Jankiel the best, they might listen to him. Jankiel explains that he was a junior who followed him around, since he was the #1 slave, maybe the professor might listen. But he was scared that he might fall out of favor, and he told his friend that was none of his business, and left him there crying. Jankiel says that maybe he might have actually been able to help that guy, as he tightens his grip on Ball's hand. He says if he just tried a little more, and if he squeezed everything he had and actually tried to go to his absolute limits, his friend's face might have been smiling in his memory instead. Kratos lets out a primal scream, as he starts swinging Bale upwards to the point that we hear the bones in his arm crunching. But he doesn't care, as he continues, and even actually manages to raise him over his head, throwing him atop the cliff. Bale lands, and Kratos makes it back up by equipping his armor. Bale says that he can't believe he saved him at the cost of getting hurt, and he had no reason to do that, asking why. Kratos is still catching his breath, but says that's because this hurts less than abandoning his follower, and he didn't want to end up regretting it. Bale starts to shake and even tear up, and of course he just wants to make up for what he couldn't do in his past life. He regrets that a lot even to this day. A system window then appears, saying even in a state where he is not fully adapted to the body he's in, he poured all of his strength, and as a result, he has earned the gratitude of Bale. In honor of his achievement, a system is established where providing his army with a sense of abundant happiness earns him a great amount of points. Kratos says that the game system would never use the word great lightly, and that it's called the Happy Point HP accumulation system. Kratos says he recognizes the name Happy Point and that it's an item that gives him discounts for ice cream, wondering if there's a place that sells it here in this world. The status window then says no, asking what kind of game world would sell ice cream, but he just can't believe it's actually sentient and he can converse with it. The status window tells him that for each soldier in the demon army that feels happy from a full stomach, he will gain 1 happy point, and he can use these points to purchase stats. He is only currently able to use 20% of his actual strength, and he should try to increase all 5 stats and attain 100% of his power. Kratos decides to see how much it would cost to get 10% stamina, and it says that he would need at least 50 points, and he realizes that's expensive. It also tells him that he can use them to purchase skill enhancements, and he would need 250 points for his bloody strike to upgrade. Kratos says he can't do anything yet, but if he were to successfully farm, then he would definitely gather quite a lot of it, and he'll then become super strong and increase his rate of survival. There's also the feeling he just got from helping Bale. To be thanked by somebody sure does feel pretty good. And of course he hits a Lloyd face. Bale says that his face tells him that he'll rip him apart immediately if he doesn't listen to what he says, since he owes him his life now, and that he doesn't think he saved him out of good faith. Kratos then yells, telling the rest to get ready as he's put shit into this eggshell, and he's about to throw it, and they should make sure to catch it. They look surprised as he yeets it straight off the cliff, covering every one of them in actual dookie. Kratos decides that he wants to go ahead and give farming everything that he has. The first step to making manure is to get all the ingredients together, and then grind it and mix it well. He tells Sergei to crush and grind all of it in front of him. She asks if he really wants her to do it, and he reminds her that she has extra arms, so she should be the one to do it. She says that she is the cold monarch, and her arms aren't meant for doing things like mixing shit. Then she starts screaming. Kratos asks if that's really the case, saying that he'll give her an easier task then, and she just needs to do the exact same thing as a Surit, saying surely she can do that. She instantly starts mixing it together, realizing she has no choice, and we see her crying while Kratos says he got scared for a second there, and that since all of the demon generals are hot-tempered, he can't let his guard down. But in the end, he's the demon lord, and he'll push on with guts and force. The second step of making manure is to add water. Kratos then tells Hardik that he wants him to fill the air with fog again. Hardik tells him that the stench is going to become even harder to bear because of the moisture, asking why he would do that. All Kratos has to do is point at a Surit being strung up, and he too folded instantly, doing exactly that. Kratos asks Bale if the moisture is enough, and Bale says that it's soft after being baked and soaked with water just as he said it would be. Kratos says the third step is to place it in a dry place and cover it with a blanket made of seagull feathers. But even just making a little bit would take an extremely long time, and in order to make manure to cover this vast piece of land, he has no choice but to mobilize all the demons. And there's something that bothers him, but it has to be done now, and he'll push ahead with the authority of the demon lord. Somewhere else in the demon realm, back at the village, we see a guy sitting by his daughter's bed. She calls out to him and asks what's wrong, and we learn that her name is Flute. Flute begs that her father eat her, and he says that he told her not to say something like that. She begins to cry, saying that she misses her mother, and he starts to feel pain recalling it. We see a giant demon crawling towards Flute as she was on the ground, terrified, and as it went to eat her, her mother stood in front of her, stretching her arms out. Flute was surprised by this, but her mother realized it was her duty and then got eaten right in front of her eyes. Her father says that if she isn't here, he would have no reason for him to continue living on for. His door then gets kicked open, and he turns, seeing Kratos enter the room. Kratos says that since he still has the strength to shout, they should take this one too. He starts to beg with him, asking about his daughter Flute, saying that if he leaves her like this, the higher-ranked demons will eat her. She screams as Bale grabs her father, taking him out, and Kratos asks how many they have so far. Zephyrus tells him that they have 20 at the moment, but they still need 30. Kratos glances back once more, seeing Flute crying, and recalls that she was an enemy in the game called the Girl Demon, and he, with zero hesitation, cut her down, because of course it was just a game. But seeing her crying face now, he turns, realizing that this is bad, and says that he is now going to stop all illegal acts of eating their own kind, and he wants Zephyrus to gather the remaining demons, as everyone is going to be forced to make manure now. He is the demon lord after all, and tyranny of this level is alright for him to achieve his goal. The role of a leader is to bear some sacrifices. We then see Flute's father hammering away, crushing up his pile. He asks why they have been wasting their strength on this for a few days, and farming sounds so ridiculous. We learn that his name is Dyrick, and his friend tells him to shut up, because he'll lose his head if the demon lord hears him. Dyrick says they're going to die anyway, and even if the land does become fertile, they have nothing to plant in the first place. Kratos asks if he's really that curious about what will go here. Dyrick, terrified, drops his club. Kratos only asks that he follow him, and he explains that on that day, the purple flower that he saw briefly is something very important, because it is an item that can be planted. As he shows Dyrick this, Dyrick asks if this is it. Kratos says that they'll plant this flower's roots, and that Bale and some of the farming squad have already dug it up from various places. Dyrick says that the roots of this plant can be eaten, and when consumed, it's something that inflicts extreme abdominal pain and can kill them. Kratos says that other than this, there's nothing that can be eaten, and the experiment to test if this can be eaten or not should be concluded about now. Direk asks what he means, and Kratos says that it is exactly what it sounds like, and he means right now, and he glares, telling Direk that his daughter is eating this as they speak. Direk's heart starts to sink, and he runs, screaming no, asking why they're doing this to his innocent daughter, and he hopes that she's not eating it. He barges into his house, telling Flute not to eat it, only to see Baal and Zephyrus inside, and he prepares himself for the worst, but she says that even though she ate it, she doesn't feel any pain, and she's actually full. He begins shaking, asking if she's really alright, and she says yes, and that they also fed it to her yesterday, and she doesn't feel anything bad. Kratos asks if he now believes him, saying a long time ago, humans of a certain land also made that poisonous plant edible. They cultivated it and were able to resolve their hunger issues, and that's known as the potato. What a hero. Flute says that she can't believe he's showing such kindness to lowly demons like themselves, and she's so thankful for him. The status window tells Kratos that a part of his demon army feels happy from eating, and he has received HP for the first time, and now he has won. Kratos is looking at this pop-up, and we even see Flute smiling. He starts to think about something, and how when she was in the game she looked like she was in an awful spot, and that it is incomparable to how she's acting now. And he starts to smile, that just because he's the demon lord, doesn't mean he always has to look so serious. He says that a brat like herself just has to eat her fill and grow up tall, and of course, him trying to look nice just looks menacing, and the rest think that he's just trying to plump her up to eat her, and that he really is evil. But of course, this is the real expression he was trying to make. It then jumps to explain some of the lore about the territory of the Demon Lord. The deepest place is called Chavandanar, and the territory itself is divided into 5 areas, and this is located in the deepest one. It is freezing cold at night, and burning hot in the day, and the climate reminds him of the Andean highlands. In the past, people in the Andes didn't have enough food to eat, so they ended up eating poisonous wild potatoes. If you're wondering if they all died, surely you already know what humans are like. They're capable of turning things that you ask them not to eat, into something edible. Direk tells them that they've laid all of them out now, and Kratos says, great, telling Baal to go crush them. Baal hits that special scream, and leaps up into the air, stomping down into the ground, using his feet to smash the potatoes. Kratos explains that they freeze them for 5 nights, and then use his meteor stomp on them after melting them during the day, and it causes the poison within the potatoes to leak out and evaporate. They freeze, melt, stomp, and then evaporate them, and after repeating this process, they dry them up, store them, before cooking them slightly. Then they become wild potatoes that can be eaten. He tells Zephyrus to gather the farming squad that's making manure, as it's time for them to all get snacks, and that surely they'll enjoy eating this. We see them all lined up, and they kind of look like the minions. Kratos says that there isn't that much, so they should only take 2 each. Zephyrus says there's still lots of potatoes left, asking if they can just make more. Kratos says he doubts there are even that many left, and it's far from sufficient if they want to feed the whole army. Therefore, they obviously have to plant the remaining potatoes and grow them 1,000-fold. They wonder if they can actually eat this, since it's a poisonous root, and their relatives have died eating this. Direk says he's told them that it has been changed, and now it can be eaten, and that he and Flute ate it and was fine. They call him a fool, telling him to look at the face of Kratos, asking if that's really someone who would give them food to eat. He's looking forward to them eating it, and then rolling on the ground until they die. Direk pops it back anyways, and they ask if he's crazy. As he starts chewing it, they watch his reaction, and even swallow it and cry, saying long live the Demon Lord. After the farming squad observed him eating it, they all ate up the potatoes quickly and realized instantly after not feeling sick that he really gave them food that could be eaten, and they start chanting his name over and over and even saluting him. Kratos says he doesn't really like the chant, and he'll change it later on. Zephyrus says the face he's making makes it seem like he has no doubt that he will be able to make edible food on this barren land, and maybe he can really bring an end to the tragedy caused by hunger. Due to part of his army feeling happy, he gains 50 points, so now he has 51. Kratos notices this and smiles, saying that's a decent number, and now he can make himself a little stronger, though he's not sure what would benefit the most. Zephyrus tells the farming squad to listen up, and says that if they tell this to the whole village after they knock off from work, that the edible food can be grown even on the farm. They promise that demons who dig up wild potatoes will be given food vouchers that can be exchanged for cooked potatoes. Kratos says he's just as smart as he looks, and while he's annoying, he's also of the most help, and demons of the village will faithfully dig up all the potatoes for him. One side will keep producing potatoes that can be eaten, the other will make manure. We see the little minions carrying a surret, and setting him up for the next area to be prepared. He starts striking him down over and over while he's working hard to produce nitrogen. He says there's enough manure now, so it's time for him to move to the next step, and then he needs to spread it evenly across the land, but it's just too vast, and that's way too much land for the farming squad who are surviving only on a few balls of potatoes to cover. While the surret starts begging for him to just kill him, Kratos smites him down, saying that now that he thinks about it, a surret's a great demon general who functions well even after having starved for a very long time, and he says there might just be no other choice but to wait for that, without saying what it is of course. Back at his castle, he's asking Zephyrus if he really requested for more troops from the Star Masters. Zephyrus says he did, and the exact thing was they order them to stop attacking, and provide as many troops as possible for farming, and while he sent messengers to the 4 Star Masters who manage each area, they still haven't received replies from any of them. Kratos wonders if the messengers collapsed from hunger, saying it's too tough to spread manure with the current troops they have. It jumps to the 1st star area, the Cliff of the Dead, and a man is kneeling, saying that based on the Scout Demon's report, Kratos has really started farming, and they've created edible food. A man says that he must be doing all this because he's scared of him, since he becomes stronger when more demons die, and he stopped the war and is reducing the number of people dying of starvation to keep him in check. We are introduced to the 1st Star Master, and the father of the dead, Sothel. He asks his messenger if he took care of all the other people that were sent to the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th star areas. He says yes, and that the other Star Masters have no idea about the war being stopped and the farming. Sothel says that the demons must all die of starvation, and only then will they become his food and his army, and that he will be able to kill Kratos and become the Demon Lord. And we learn that his little messenger is named Fikimir. Sothel tells him that he wants him to destroy everything related to farming that Kratos has set up so far. Fikimir looks happy. Back to a surret being hung up, we see Fikimir saying that Kratos is really vicious, and he turned a surret into a living corpse to make an example of him. He tells a surret not to worry, and that Sothel likes his aggressiveness, and he'll take him in after he kills Kratos. He then summons some wraiths, telling them to destroy this wasteland till it can never be used again. And they start tearing apart the land, doing exactly that. One of them says that this is the manure that the Scout Demon mentioned. Fikimir laughs, saying that that's perfect, and they should go throw it all over the land. And they might regather them to reuse, so they should make sure to scatter them evenly everywhere, and mix it into the ground to the point that not even a single manure can be seen, so it's buried deep. And he continues laughing and howling. But a surret just looks completely in disbelief, that plot convenience is this crazy. We get a flashback to Zephyrus asking Kratos what to do, and Kratos says that the manure needs to be grinded finely and mixed into the ground, and doing so is impossible for the farming squad. As the wraiths were doing exactly that for them, Fikimir sits there laughing, saying it's all over for him now. But a surret just wonders what in the world they are trying to achieve here by helping them. Some time later, we hear one of the wraiths sighing, saying that there is no end to this. The others start telling him to stop lazing around, and if there are any bits left unturned, that Kratos will make it into a farmland. One other wraith says that number 2718 is working especially hard today, and he always lazes around too. 1341 says that's true, but he doesn't know. He just feels very proud when he looks at all the work that they've done, spreading the manure around so they can't use it, and he feels like he's done something productive. 2718 just kind of stares at him and laughs, saying that he's such an idiot. And some of the other wraiths start digging around, saying that they'll be an idiot too today, and there isn't much left, and that they're way too good at this. The sun then starts to rise, and they say they get too lost in time because of their work, and now they're going to die. However, a death like this isn't bad, as they were productive after all. Poor Fikimir is crying while holding an umbrella, saying that they did it, and they should hopefully rest somewhere nice, and now he'll see just how Kratos reacts. It jumps to a little warehouse, and Kratos says tailing the field took longer than expected, but they took just as long themselves. And all these potatoes are in a dormant state. Zephyrus asks what he means, and Kratos says they won't grow sprouts, and there's no use even if they plant them. It's like if a potato was peacefully sleeping in the earth, and someone just yanked it out by the hair. The potatoes then passed out from the shock, and their heart stopped. The dormancy will end quicker if he leaves them for about 2 or 3 weeks in 4 degrees Celsius, then suddenly moves them somewhere dark and warm. They want Sergei to imbue them with her cold energy, but she's really angry right now, and Hardik is up to something as well. He wants to avoid them attacking him together, so he's better off thinking about doing it another way. It's okay to raise the storage's temperature to about 23 degrees. So we had the farmer's soldiers do squats, but they all got tired, and they were just injured soon, so that was a failure. He then decides to suck it up, saying that they'll head straight to the farms, and he'll just do what he can for now, and he needs to at least imbue the soil with nitrogen. But once he gets there, he sees the manure spread out everywhere along the field, with a surrot up on the cross. He sweats nervously, wondering what's going on, saying that the dirt is all mixed up, and the stink is filling the area. I feel so bad for this guy. But Kratos says it's all ready for planting, wondering what kind of miracle has happened. Fikamir's laughing, watching from afar, saying that he's shocked, and this is a perfect reaction. Bale then appears behind him, grabbing him, saying that he was hiding. Fikamir tells him to let him go. But Kratos recognizes him as one of Sothel's men, asking if he came here all on his own after hearing the call for reinforcements. Kratos asks what he's doing here, and Fikamir panics. Kratos then punches him in the face, and Zephyrus asks why he's hitting him before he even has the chance to answer. Kratos says it looked like he was trying to hide something, and beating people up is the most efficient way to deal with that. Fikamir says as expected of the Demon King, however he will not speak so easily. Kratos starts treating him like an actual sandbag to the point that he gets tired from hitting him. The system asks if he would like to use his points to purchase stats, since he has 51 remaining. He upgrades his stamina by a whole 10% and continues beating the shit out of Fikamir until he says he'll talk. He says that to be honest, he was ordered to mess up the farmland to starve them all, and he's still getting beat as he's talking. Back to the castle. Kratos says in the end, Sothel was the one who cut off their requests for reinforcements, but he gets it, as he only becomes stronger when demons are starving. Zephyrus says this is an act of revolution, and it might be a chance, because if he takes down Sothel, the demons who were complaining because of the suspension will take it as a warning. Kratos says that even if that wasn't an issue, they'll keep getting in the way of his farming if he just leaves them be, and he's got a surefire way to deal with them. Zephyrus says the problem would be how to defeat Sothel. Kratos says he knows that he has the ability to turn his body like that of a ghost. Even in the game, he was all over the place in the Cliff of the Dead, which is already a complicated map, and the entire stage was like a game of hide and seek with him. If it's too hard to kill a pest because they hide, then you need to pull the pest out of their nest. It jumps to Flute looking up at something, and it's none other than a surrot above her, and he asks her what she's looking at. She starts to stutter because she's nervous, and she says that she heard it, thanks to his sacrifice that they all now have food. Then she thanks him. He is absolutely disgusted that he is being thanked, and yells asking if she is mocking him, saying that he's going to kill her. Poor Flute runs away screaming. And a surrot says that Kratos needs to wait, as the moment he's free, he'll come and kill him. He then hears Kratos yell, telling everybody to say it together, and he wonders what's going on this time. As when he looks over, he sees Kratos holding some kind of celebration, as they have now got the second lightning rod in office, and it's none other than Fikamir. And they even gave him an umbrella. That's so sweet. He and the minions are dancing and cackling, saying that it's such a joy. A surrot says since he's the second, that must mean that he's free, and he starts to cry tears of joy, saying that he won't have to be stuck here all day and night. But instead, they just put Fikamir right up beside him, leaving him confused. And Kratos immediately hits them both with a bloody strike. A surrot now realizes that this just means there are now 2 rods for him to make use of. We see somebody watching them both just get struck down over and over, as it's none other than Sothel. He starts crying tears, saying that he can't believe they did this to his boy. Kratos cast another strike, and Fikamir starts moaning. What a hero, while Sothel is screaming stop, with tears rolling down his eyes. Kratos glances over, saying that that's the reconnaissance wraith from the game, and it looks like they're keeping a close watch, and he'll make sure they regret messing with his harvest in the first place. Sometime later, we see Flute digging in the field, and a surrot looks down at her. He notices that her hands are all scarred up and dirty, and he asks her what she's doing. she starts to think about it, saying that since the Demon King and the 4 heavenly generals and all the other adults are working hard on farming, she wanted to help somehow. Asurat calls her a stupid low-ranking demon brat, saying that the asshole beside him already plowed the field, and she should at least do something useful. She walks over to Fikamir, thanking him, saying that he plowed the field and became a lightning rod for them, and she's so grateful. He's confused but rolls with it, saying that she's such a cutie, and she made all that hard work worth it. Asurat says this dude's already lost his mental. Asurat asks what's the big deal about plowing some field, asking if she really thinks farming in this wasteland is possible, and whatever they're trying to grow will not sprout. They say if you keep the potato seeds warm these sprouts will grow quickly, but they're all going to starve to death anyways. She runs away, thanking him as he calls out to her, happily running off, then laughs, asking what can a low-ranking demon even do. Elsewhere at the castle, Zephyrus says that he has a slight concern about his plan, and that Sothel must know that this is a trap, asking if he will even come to rescue Fikamir. Kratos says of course not. First, he'll send his subordinates, and if they want him to come out himself, they need to eliminate every single one that he sends, and they should leave none alive. As we see Baal keeping guard over the lightning rods, the reconnaissance wraith is floating overhead, and Sothel calls Kratos a fool, asking if he really thinks that just waiting around will make his subordinates appear. While it's unfortunate for Fikamir, he only has one true goal, and that is for him to ruin the harvest. He then sends out his crop wraiths to the storage warehouse, and as the little murloc things waddle over, they go into full-blown creative flight, going straight towards the door, as their plan is to crush the potatoes and trample them into oblivion. They phase through the doorway and are now standing in the storage room, and Kratos says it's just as he expected. They're surprised, and he says that he knew the crop wraiths would appear, and that he's grateful they walked into their own graves. They start to look panicked, and he says the first time he encountered these, he felt pure despair, and that this is his second elite force. The real problem is that they always move in swarms. Even if they touch you physically, they'll latch on and rapidly age you. Not to mention, they copy the skills you have equipped, and they're a complete nuisance. But there is one way to wipe them out, and he asks who wants to be fried first, as he just needs to attack them with lightning-based items. They realize it's a trap and begin trying to run away, but Kratos screams no, as the real trap is what comes next. They look back towards the door, seeing there's nothing but blood covering it now, and it's the blood that he was smearing before. Kratos says it's now for his Phase 2 ability, as he scratches his hand. He slaps the blood beneath him, and it starts engulfing the trail of blood he left behind like gasoline and fire until it reaches the front door. Then it creates a massive shock field, zapping the wraiths, and it's called the Wide Area Bloody Strike. Kratos says now they can hit them with physical attacks, telling the farm guards to lock in. They burst through the door like they're the Kool-Aid Man, and we see the wraiths are now no longer in a spectral form. Kratos says the farm guards may look unimpressive, but they're the strongest units in the final map. As they are literally ripping apart the crop wraiths, Kratos says that he really does feel like a ruthless, smart, alpha demon king. I can't believe Buddy just said that. And he says maybe he actually fits well into this world. But there are quite a few wraiths that have not been fried yet. He goes out of his way to strike them personally, revealing their form, and as they fall to the floor, he hears somebody screaming. When he turns, surprised, we see none other than Flute sticking her head out from all of the potatoes. He wonders what she's doing and since when she's been here. As one of the wraiths goes to attack her, Dyrek screams out for her, and Kratos says there's always these clueless ones, and right now the priority is to eliminate as many escaping crop wraiths as possible. But there's no way he can just leave her be, but he can't exactly bloody strike because it's too far. He throws a potato directly towards the wraith's head and wonders what he's even trying to achieve by throwing it. Somehow it bonks it on the head, and the wraith starts to latch onto the potato, rapidly aging it, growing it. Kratos is surprised by this, as we see it actually has fully matured the potato sprout. And then the wraith, exhausted, falls down onto the floor beside Flute. As the other wraiths go to escape his storage warehouse, Kratos is just surprised, asking if it really just sprouted. Then it clicks in his head, and he says that they accelerate aging, and it just jump-started the biological clock of the potatoes when they were stalled. He picks Flute up and tells her that she has done an amazing job with the warmest smile of all time, and she begins crying tears of joy. He throws her off to the ground, telling the farm guards to listen up, and that they should forget luring Sothel out. From now on, they're going to go on the offensive, as that will benefit them way more. Then he grabs a handful of potatoes. A little later, we hear Asurat's voice asking where he is, and who he even is, wondering what he's living for. He says the sun is so beautiful, and of course, he's so grateful just to face it. His stomach begins to rumble, and he says that even in this state, he still has a craving for life. He hears Flute calling out to him, saying that, thanks to his advice about the potato sprouts, everything worked out great, and she even got tons of food. Kratos gathered a ton of farmer soldiers and went off to sprout potatoes. Asurat sees the basket full of food she has brought and starts to go crazy, snapping at the fact that there's just food. She says he must be hungry and that she'll give this to him. As she raises it into the air, she yeets it forward. It hits him directly in the eyeball instead of his mouth, and he starts screaming, straight tweaking out, saying that he's going to kill her. She says she's sorry and that she'll throw another one, only for her to throw 3 back, each going into his eyeballs, and the other one going into his mouth. As he starts crying tears, he says that it's so tasty. Kratos sees a status window appearing saying that his army feels happy from eating. He has been given 1 point for that, and he now has 302. Kratos says including newly added recruits from the last round that received food, that would be 300 demons. He says one of them is that kid, asking who the other one is, but says whoever it is, the more the better. They'll need to save it for the Sothel raid. He tells the farmer corps to advance, as it's time for them to have a bountiful harvest. They make their way to Sothel's territory, as we see a bridge ahead of them. The little ghouls start doing their best to cut the bridge off, and as they swing their axes, they laugh, asking what they'll do now without a bridge. Kratos is already leaping across in the air, only for him to slowly start falling down the cliff, and they laugh, calling him an idiot, saying that he just came and jumped down like a moron. Their laughter immediately goes into what the hell faces, as Kratos is once again double-cheeked up in the side of the wall. The little ghouls start sweating nervously, wondering what the hell they are looking at, as he starts changing his position, rolling up the cliff, with every single alternation being completely naked, and that this is a master predator at work getting his prey. He finally makes it up top, and they start screaming, saying that was the nastiest thing they've ever seen in their life, and Kratos says it's just as he planned, and he points over to Zephyrus, who nods his head. Kratos says according to his strategic plan, the food wraiths should be terrified of the potatoes, but if he charged in all alone and unarmed it would work. We hear Sothel say he's alone and has no cursed potatoes, so they can go for him, and even just grazing him would mean victory. And as they flew in, it was time for his secret technique, the quantum leap move, as he starts gliding up the wall, confusing the wraiths, because the final sight they see is nothing but cheeks until he goes invisible into the wall. They say that movement technique is insane, asking where he learned such a forbidden technique, and say that he must be upstairs. They then continue doing their best after he re-emerges, following him, but once again, he's too fast. This is the equivalent of Barry Allen, the Flash. They say that, and Kratos says this is the 19th time he's done this, and he's seen every corner of this map, and if he combines all the areas where enemies appeared in the game into one single place, as they all start swarming directly towards him, he stands there confidently. He takes a couple breaths. Sothel says that he's tired now, and even if he's the Demon Lord, this is the end. Kratos says that he's not the Demon Lord right now, but rather, he is a veteran player. Zephyrus yells, telling his men now's their chance, as all the farmers start throwing potatoes from the holes on the side of the cliffs, and they start hitting the wraiths, sprouting in an instant. Kratos says that this is the greatest farm a man could have asked for, and it's very efficient. Zephyrus says at first he was unsure, but once again, Kratos' words were spot on. He said that when he herded them all to one place, he and the rest of the farmers should follow his map. Zephyrus says that the abandoned ancient aqueduct is a dead end, and there's nothing there, but Kratos smiles, saying that that's fine, because there is a secret shortcut that he will utilize. Kratos says after recapping from the Cliff of the Dead, right before reaching the final map he scoured the area. He found a wall that was made with too much detail to be not important. He swung on the wall, wondering why the texture there was different. If you've played Dark Souls, this is your POV on every corner. And this tunnel connects the place where they had their first battle with Sothel to this cave. He wondered why he couldn't enter, but it turns out you can come in after clearing the area. You could obtain the elixir of metamorphosis, which is the compressed soul of countless dead meat piles, and it can only be consumed once, but who knows what might happen. As the farmers start picking up the sprouted potatoes, they begin screaming, saying that now they can plant. Daira cries tears of joy, saying that he can finally live and eat his fill. Credo stands there and starts to recall a woman, saying that he's been starving so much. He's none other than reminiscing about his granny, saying that he'll have a full dinner tonight, and he should just wait. Then he was accompanied by sirens, as he had to call an ambulance for her. And it's a very painful memory to him. Credo says that anyone who tries to get in the way of him finally eating, he will make sure that they will be completely wrecked. Bale then calls out to him. And when Credos turns, he warns him that Sothel is strong, so he will help. Credos tells him just to carry the potatoes, as this is a job for the boss. Inside of Sothel's main chamber, he starts calling out to the heart of the ice spirit. And he chants, saying that he needs more power and troops, only for Credos to kick him in the face, slamming him into a nearby wall. Sothel asks how he knew to come here. Credos says that's none of his business, and it's time for him to exterminate the pest ruining his farming. Sothel stares at him and then calls him a fool, asking if he really came alone, thinking he could defeat him. And he begins changing shape into something else, warning him that he is yet to see his true power. Credos says that he has seen it 19 times, in fact. While chasing Sothel, who keeps fleeing through the cliffs, they ended up constantly encountering his subordinates, and by the end, he wiped out all of the cliff mobs. Then he flees into this room where the heart of the ice spirit lies, and the so terrifying artifacts had to be created by an ancient dragon at the cost of its life. It is a chilling frost that traps dead spirits in this world. He tries to summon more followers using that power, but the paladin arrives just in time, and the final battle begins. He uses his true ability by then, as we see him still changing shape in the air. He tells Credos that he is strong, which is why he is doing this to ensure that he himself is going to win this battle. As he turns into Credos, we learn that he perfectly copies his opponent's stats and materializes into them. This is the endgame, and at this point, he has the same stats as his character, which are at their peak. With insane attack power and nearly broken evasion skill, just one mistake and you are instantly dead. However, the current stats he has are none other than his, who is not strong at all. As Sothel starts to charge in while screaming, Credos then opens the stat window to upgrade them using his points. He has 302 points, and he uses 50 to upgrade his dexterity by 10%. He dodges Sothel's attack and then returns with a punch straight to his gut while screaming. He then upgrades his physical strength by 10% using 50 points. As Sothel comes in for a punch, Credos meets it fist to fist. Sothel starts screaming, asking why the hell he is still perfectly fine. And Credos tells him that farming requires brains too. Sothel, in a panic, starts to scream bloody strike, trying to activate the ability. Credos then uses 100 points to upgrade his power and mental strength by 10% each. As they both cast a bloody strike at one another, creating a giant electricity field in between them, Sothel screams and gets completely engulfed by the attack and starts to melt directly in front of him into a little puddle. Credos looks down at it, and as we see it wiggling, he has now used more points to upgrade all of his stats by 1 tier. He notices something, as he has completed the growth quest, which is level up all stats. As a reward, a new skill is unlocked, and it is Summon Farmer's Throne, which costs 100 points. The Throne of the Farmer King, equipped by a variety of sturdy farming tools. Credos says that he did actually need new gear. Sothel calls out to him, asking if he really thought it was over, as he starts to change form once more. Credos says no, and there is always a phase 2 in the second half of a fight. Sothel reveals this is his origin, the form of the ancient evil dragon. Credos says it actually looks insane seeing it in person, and that the attack power and health pool is no joke. But he is the boss of the final area before the last boss, after all. But he smiles, saying that it doesn't matter. As Bale kicks the door down, revealing all the troops, Credos says that he is the final boss himself, so any boss beforehand is not going to be important. Sothel, realizing that he's fucked, telling him to wait, as he wants to talk this out like civilized men, only for him to start running away as all the boys start straight jumping his shit. The farmers start attacking him, asking if he's really interfering with their farming. Sothel begs to be spared, and Credos says that he could probably beat him if he fought him head on, but it talks and moves, and it doesn't feel right to kill it himself. But maybe everyone is still too hungry to fight properly, as they've been beating it up for a while and he still won't die, and that they should do it more efficiently. As he uses the skill to unlock the farmer's throne, he only has 2 points remaining, and he starts to summon it as a giant green light forms above Sothel's castle and starts to slowly descend from the heavens itself, getting closer and closer to Sothel until it crashes down into where he's standing, splattering him across the room. Kratos is surprised, as all that's remaining is the throne, and the men start going crazy, saying as expected of the Demon Lord, as he had to finish him off with a head smash for the final blow, and he sure is savage, fitting the Demon Lord. Kratos, confused, decides to roll with it and says hell yeah while raising his fist into the air. Back to the lightning rods, Fikimir notices something and says that he's ascending, as his form starts to leave, because he was Sothel's familiar, after all. All of the fields are now plowed, the potato sprouts have emerged, and he has gotten rid of the pest threatening his harvest, and now it's time for him and his boys to finally get busy. The ice spirit crystal starts to shake, and Kratos is confused, as a status window says that the mission of defeating Sothel on the Cliff of the Dead 20 times is completed. Kratos wonders if he's really picking up from where he left off with his 19th try, but it says that as a reward, a hidden event has been triggered. A sealed origin trapped within the heart of the ice spirit has awakened for misuse. As an icy aura starts to release from the crystal, Kratos walks over to it, wondering what the hell is going on, only to reveal a tiny baby dragon. Kratos is confused, and as the dragon looks at him surprised, it calls him T-Bone, and it kind of looks like Tony Chopper. As Kratos approaches the cute little dragon, it wonders if Kratos is its daddy. Kratos stretches his hand out towards it and lifts it into the air, as it makes a cute little sound. The dragon says it hatched from its egg and it was dark all around, making it really scared, but now daddy finally found them. Kratos starts smiling super warmly, saying that it sure is cute. The dragon is absolutely terrified and starts shaking. As they start heading back, the farmer says that it's time to eat and start eating. Chanting in unison, the dragon continues crying, and Kratos tells them they have to raise the dragon first to get more out of it. The dragon, now starting to tear up, asks if its daddy is really going to eat it. Kratos then looks forward, spotting Flute and the rest all coming to greet them. The dragon says that it can feel warm energy from everybody, and that these creatures are not scary at all, only for it to look up at Kratos' face, saying never mind, it takes everything back. Back inside the castle, it's cowering in a corner and looks out the corner of its eyes, spotting Kratos glaring at it. The dragon says they're just waiting for it to grow up, and Kratos just wonders what to feed it. He heard baby dragons eat refined gemstones, but there's not a single jewel here, only heaps of rusty old metal. Zephyrus then reports in, saying that they're facing difficulties building the ridges, and Kratos says of course, to plant crops properly you need to build ridges or mound the earth along the boundaries of fields and 4 paddies, and that requires pure soil only, but this land is full of nothing but rocks. And that's all they are doing when they dig, finding more and more. The dragon looks at everybody else, saying that they're all just slaves, and that it's going to be worked to death just like the rest of them. Kratos says this is not a field, it's a coal mine. At this rate, it'll take forever just clearing the rocks up, and if they keep using this much manpower every day, they'll run out of the food they prepared as rewards quickly. Even if they get reinforcements from the other lords, it won't go away, and if only he could be like the main character or some other comic that gets so many familiars, or something like a wombat that clears rocks. Bro is talking directly about Lloyd. He glances over, seeing Flute digging into the dirt and how hard she is trying, and he realizes that he needs to cook something up. He says that he has to find a way to fix this, but every single time he fixes one problem, there's another one that occurs. He then hears someone yelling about the razor winds, and when they turn, we see a giant tornado making its way towards them. Kratos stands before it, saying that he completely forgot about this. This vast wasteland sometimes spawns razor wind events at random, and if you get caught in one of those, you'll be shredded to pieces in an instant. He tells everybody to take cover, hiding behind the rocks and to hide something, or to get under something that creates shade. As everybody begins running away, Kratos says that even from this far away, the wind pressure is already insane, and what he felt in the game was nothing compared to how it really is. It is a natural disaster, which is the biggest threat to farming. Flute begins running in the opposite direction, and Kratos spots her as she's running over, yelling out to assure it. Dyrek runs towards her, and Kratos can't believe she's doing something like this. He hands the little dragon to Dyrek, saying that he needs to protect her and he'll kill anyone who follows him. I guess this means the dragon's a girl. Bale yells, telling him it's too dangerous. If he goes in there he could die. Kratos says he knows, but he can't afford to lose his precious lightning rod or laborer. He says that farming isn't some laid-back therapeutic activity where you can just chill and pick Asurits. As we see Flute trying to get rid of the pole, Asurit yells, telling her to get out of here, and Kratos says to farm is to live, the same as going to war. He tells her to get out of the way, and then he kicks the pole, shattering it. As Asurit begins to fall, he lands face first in the ground beside Flute. The razor wind starts cutting Kratos' cheek, but it's also cutting Flute all over. As she's trying to undo the rope, Asurit yells, saying that's not even something one of the 4 heavenly kings could undo, and that she'll never be able to untie that, so she needs to leave. Kratos picks her up and then grabs onto Asurit's cross, and the little dragon says that she can feel the creature's strength, and that her dad is not that strong. Kratos starts screaming as he's getting cut all over. He begins running through the razor winds. The dragon says that yet, he still goes this far to help people. With the winds being right on Kratos' ass, it's slowly catching up with him, because he's not fast enough. He's continuously getting cut all over from the wind, and he falls to the floor and begins to cover Flute with his body, because Asurit will just regenerate. The little dragon runs forward, saying that her daddy is a kind creature, flying directly towards them. She starts to suck in a big gulp of air and yells out, T-Bone, shooting out an ice beam, hitting the razor winds, starting to slow it down. Kratos says that the razor winds have weakened, wondering if the dragon used cold energy to weaken the upper giraffes. He called it a he, but I still don't know if it's a girl or a guy, so we'll call it Draggy from now on. Kratos says this is too much for a baby dragon to do, and starts to lose consciousness. As the razor winds continue on, we see that Zephyrus and the rest have actually run in. We see that Bale, Zephyrus, Draggy, and I believe Dyrek have just saved them from the winds. It jumps back to the castle. As we see Kratos laying in bed, 2 people begin walking, as it's none other than Sergei and Hardik. Hardik says while the Demon Lord is down right now, he'll cut off his head. Sergei says that then she'll take out both Bale and Asurit, and one of them will be the new Demon Lord. Hardik says that until then, they are allies. As they open the door, seeing him laying down, they begin approaching him and both ready themselves to deliver the attack. They both then freeze up upon seeing something, as Kratos is staring at them with his mouth wide open. They can't believe that he was waiting for them, but they say this is their only chance. We then hear both Bale and Asurit asking what the 2 of them think they are doing. As the Demon Lord is sleeping, they should not disturb him. They can't believe this is his sleeping face, saying it's no wonder he's the Demon Lord. Bale says if they wake him up, he won't let them off. Hardik says that he gets him acting like this, but why is Asurit acting like this when the Lord just wants to farm now? Asurit says that he owes him his life from before, so he's just paying back the one debt. Next time, he'll be on their side. Hardik asks if they haven't realized it yet. Just planting potatoes has brought them tons of problems, and the crops will fail, and they'll all starve to death. Asurit says that's just how it goes, and he starts recalling how hard Flute was working, though her hands are so tiny. He says to not starve, they have to put their lives on the line, and that if he's risking his life, he'd rather fight, as that's more his thing. Hardik says he will regret this and calls both him and Bale inferior fools. Kratos starts to yawn, and Bale says it seems like he's awake. Kratos is just confused why Asurit's in his room, and Asurit says that he wasn't taking his side or anything, he's just repaying his debt. Kratos asks why the hell his lightning rod is walking around talking like it's normal. Asurit gets smited down for just saving Kratos' life. Poor guy. As Bale carries him back, Kratos says they don't have time to waste, as everybody needs to be mobilized and continue clearing out the rubble. Bale says the rocks and rubble are gone, and Zephyrus is stacking them. Kratos is confused, then we see he was telling the truth. As Zephyrus is out here commanding them in, Kratos calls out asking where he put all the rocks. Zephyrus says that they're over that way and points, and we see Draggy flying around. Turns out T-Bone is Draggy's name. T-Bone is actually doing nothing but eating the rocks as it flies by and crunching them up in the air, saying that they were too small to block the razor wind. So they decided to eat everything to grow faster. Kratos calls out to T-Bone, and T-Bone starts to fly in and rubs onto Kratos' chest. Kratos says his sweet baby. And though the razor winds don't come often, it takes time for them to build up. If T-Bone keeps watch from the sky and fires cold air at the right time, they can stop them in advance, and it's a pain, but here without any weather forecast, they have no choice. The fields are almost ready, so now it's time to take care of the potatoes. Zephyrus tells Kratos they're running out of food, asking if they need any more, but Kratos says there's no need. As the first enemy of farming is natural disaster, the second is cost. There are walls they need to overcome. Back inside the castle, in Sergei's room, we see her taking off her helmet, and she lets out a sigh. As she starts to let her hair flow around, she says that the smell of shit is not going away from her, even after days of not going to the field. Kratos knocks on her door, saying he needs to speak with her. She asks what he wants, and she has nothing to say. He says he needs her help, begging that she open the door. She says she wants to avoid anything misleading. He says not seeing each other's faces is how misunderstandings arise. She tells him to go back, but he says that he's coming in. She turns, saying that she told him she doesn't have anything to say, only to spot him straight naked in the wall, as he used his technique of quantum leaping to get through. She asks if he's crazy, and why he would barge into a lady's room naked. He starts to kneel in front of her. She's caught off guard by this, and he says without her he can't do anything. She sits there, staring, and then begins to blush. Kratos says that if it means saving cost, he'll kneel all she wants, as he needs her sharp and precise blade. She twirls her hair, still blushing, saying that if he says that, then fine, and she'll at least listen to what he has to say. Kratos asks if this is really all it took, saying that it's so ridiculous and she's lost it, and we see her standing before the mountain of potatoes. He tells her to cut them up for him, as they have to cut them in half to plant them. She can't believe she listened to him, and says that she got played for a damn fool, and looks hella pissed. Kratos tells her that the work is simple. She doesn't need to cut the ones with 3 or fewer sprouts, but if it's over 4, to cut it in half. Also, to make sure the number of sprouts are evenly distributed on both sides when cutting. And saying that that's easy, telling her he's gonna throw a potato at her. She says that she never agreed to it, and he yeets them directly towards her. She readies her blades and starts slicing forward, cutting all the potatoes in front of her. It's perfect because it's just as he described. Kratos is surprised, saying this is no joke, asking how she's cutting it this accurately. And that he knew it, she is the only one who can do this. Of course, being weak to his words, she starts blushing and says that there's no way she'll fall for his sweet talking again, calling him a liar and a swindler. He jumps right up towards her, scaring her, and grabs onto her arm. She asks what's going on, and he starts to grab onto her blade with a cloth and cleans it off. And she asks what the hell he's doing. He says some potato juice got on her, and so of course he should wipe it off. She wonders if he's crazy and why he's acting like this. And wonders what's with his eyes, they're so warm, sincere, and deep. Kratos says that this feels good because if you don't clean the knife well, disease could spread between potatoes. And he has to wipe it thoroughly and sincerely. He then asks her once more and says please, as she is the only one who can do this. Of course, he's only talking about she's the only one who can cut the potatoes, and she still sits there blushing and says that she'll agree just this once and is a little tsundere. She says that she'll help him just this one time, and he can't do anything without her, calling him a silly demon lord. He says that he'll go bring some boiling water and cloth, as they're gonna cut them all night together. She asks why he's so excited, saying that he's a fool, then starts going back to cutting the potatoes. Hardik watches all of this from above, and she tells Kratos to stop trying to sneakily hold her hand. He then starts singing, and after every single time she cuts one of the potatoes, he's cleaning her sword. Hardik says that she was one of the dumb inferior ones too, volunteering for servitude after just a few compliments. Back to Assert on his cross. He asks what's the definition of life and what it means to live. And there's nothing a lightning rod has to live for. Because a life of suffering is not worth living. Flute then approaches him, saying that she's got some food for him and she wants to play the throwing game. He calls her a brat, saying that there's no way he would play with a low-class demon like herself. And that if she comes over here, he's gonna eat her. She throws one, bouncing off his chin, and he starts shaking his head, saying she needs to do it right or else he'll kill her. Hardik watches this too, saying that he's completely out of commission, and he got beat like a fool, and now he's a total wreck. Kratos then yells, getting the attention of all the farmers, saying that the cut and dried seed potatoes are here, and they're finally ready to start planting them in their field. Hardik says that Bale was dumb from the beginning, so we had no expectations of him, and everyone's intelligence here is below average. As the farmers start complimenting Sergei, thanking her for cutting the potatoes, she tells them to shut up, as it wasn't for their sake. And Hardik says that her face looks so dopey, saying this is not the face of a general. And he can't believe the farmers are crying over something like seed potatoes, as they should be ashamed to be demons. Because the whole lot here are idiots, and that he, the intellect of demon kind, will steal the Lord's throne. Kratos tells them to keep planting while listening. Soon the potato sprouts will grow and poke above the soil. When that happens, they must begin thinning the buds. Bale says that he's good at cutting, asking what he wants him to do, and Kratos tells him to shut his mouth. He explains that each seed potato can produce as few as 3 sprouts, and as many as 5 or 6. So he wants to ask a question for them. And he asks if more sprouts are fewer or better. One of them says that more is better, and Kratos says wrong, since fewer is. And Hardik wonders why they are even studying this in the first place, calling them pathetic. Some of the farmers wonder why fewer are better, since if anything, more is good, and they think that what Kratos said is just wrong. Hardik calls them inferior morons, saying they need to think about it a little bit. If there are too many sprouts, they'll steal nutrients from each other, meaning the actual potato, which they'll eat, gets fewer nutrients. Kratos turns after hearing this, and is a little surprised, asking him how he knew the right answer, asking if he's farmed before. Hardik asks if they really need to learn something so basic, as the sprouts and the potato itself share nutrients, and that's obvious. Kratos asks how many sprouts should be ideal, and Hardik says that 2 is the obvious answer. And if they only think of nutrient loss, they might assume 1 is ideal, but if that 1 breaks, the root potato might die. Kratos then asks after the bud thinning what they'll have to do next. Hardik says they've created healthy artificial soil, they've added compost, tilled the soil, and improved air circulation. That kind of soil won't just benefit the potatoes, but unwanted weeds will still grow to steal nutrients. They'll have to remove those as well. This is something they could all just figure out with a little bit of thinking. Kratos yells, telling everybody to give him a round of applause, and that he is a genius, and they need to applaud the farming genius Hardik. They start calling him a genius, and clapping, saying it over and over, and he looks hella annoyed, but it's all a front. And he says that his mother always called him dumb, and he begins hiding his tears, turning his head, wondering why he's crying. Kratos approaches him and calls him the wise and intelligent mind of the demon kind, saying from this day forward, he'll lead the farmer corps as the chief leader. Hardik says there's no way he would do that, as he's a demon, and that's ridiculous. His intellect exists to kill and steal. Kratos asks what everybody is doing, saying they need to show some respect to the elite of demon kind, and all the farmers start cheering him on more. Hardik tells them to all shut up, calling them dumb and inferior, but immediately folds, saying they just need to follow him properly, saying that he'll lead them a little bit. They start to go even crazier, cheering him on. A status window appears, telling Kratos he has achieved victory in 4 psychological battles. Kratos wonders what this means, and it explains it. He saw through Baal's neglected heart and turned him into a loyal subordinate. Kratos says he had no idea. In Asurat's case, he gave the friendless Asurat a friend and reduced his violence. Again, no clue. For Sergei, he melted her heart, who had never once loved, and he wonders what the hell he did for her. For Hardik, he instilled confidence, as he has always wanted recognition. Kratos says he can't believe they have all had such fragile hearts, and he has been given 200 happy points, and he may unlock a new skill called the Blood Eye. Kratos says this wasn't in the original game, just like the farmer's throne. It pretty much says that he can see a short glimpse of the future of the target he is observing, and he can see up to 6 hours ahead. He says the target he can observe is either a living creature or an object. He is then surprised by the next line, as it says even the sky, and he smiles, saying that he himself has become the weatherman. It then jumps to somewhere else. As it is somewhere between the lands of the demon lord and the human territory, We see the village of the exiled and somebody stomping the ground. Look at who it is, it's none other than the Temu versions of Lloyd and Javier. Javier says it seems like he's fully recovered now. And Lloyd says that's truly a relief. Javier thanks him for taking such good care of him, and in his next life, he wants to be born with a sturdier body. Lloyd says that he wants to become rich and a noble with money who can boss people around. Javier says that he guesses it's a dream he won't be able to fulfill even in the next life. And they tell Kimchi that they're planning on returning to the kingdom, asking if he wants to go with them. Kimchi says they're not sure, as he mentioned he doesn't even remember who he was. He didn't live among the humans either, and when he first came to this village they didn't exactly welcome him. And he has no idea if someone like himself would even be accepted elsewhere. Javier and Lloyd look at him, and Javier is straight up, telling Bro needs to change his clothing. They cover him up, and Lloyd says that he still won't get rid of his strange outfit. Javier tells him that it must be a garment he's attached to. Kimchi says that he also wants to take them off too, but he can't. It's like they're a part of his body. Javier thanks somebody for their kindness, saying that living in such a place simply for being a descendant of exiles is too cruel, and when he returns to the king, he'll be sure to tell him his story. Kimchi says that he's a noble who came by royal order to scout near demon territory, sure is a decent person because he has no unnecessary pride and is respectful. He wonders what kind of person he was, as he gets nothing but flashbacks of himself murdering demons. He says that he merely answered the call of duty and simply repeatedly slaughtered over and over again. Someone like him has nothing he can do besides killing. Back to the farmers looking at their first sprout, and they start going crazy, telling everybody to check it out. Bale and Sergei look at them, and Sergei looks super happy. Flute then tells Asurit that the sprouts have come up, and he asks her what she wants him to do about it. Kratos tells the farmer corps that they need to begin the next phase with this earthing up. He tells the genius chief cultivator Hardik to explain it. Hardik says that earthing up means covering the stem of the sprout slightly with soil, to prevent the young potatoes from being exposed to sunlight. If they do, they change color, lose flavor, and could even become toxic. They could call this potato darkening. Kratos tells everybody to give him a round of applause for that brilliant explanation. He decides to look up at the sky, checking the weather for today. He said investing 200 points into this ability was pretty good, and that it has been enhanced. The activation condition is to stare without blinking for 200 seconds. As he starts crying from dry eye, he says this shit is exhausting, and everybody looks at him, saying that he's crying again, and that he's so happy that the sprouts are growing. He starts to finally activate the ability. Over the next 6 hours, it'll be sunny and dry, and he might want to bring out a humidifier. He says there's no razor winds today, and that T-Bone should rest well. Zephyr says there is an urgent report, as a subordinate of the second Star Master Planus, and we are introduced to Laplo, the loyal retainer of the second Star Master, and they greet Kratos. We see it's none other than Groot, who says that right after they received his ceasefire order and the farming message, the third Star Master Ruster launched a full assault on them. He said that the Demon Lord was weakened, so that they will become the new Demon Lord. Kratos says they're all the exact same. Zephyrus says that if Ruster subjugates Planus and they join forces, they won't be able to hold them off easily. Kratos says that while their levels might be low, there'd be too many of them, and they must go before Planus falls and defeat the other Star Master quickly, but they can't leave the farming work abandoned for too long. The region under attack by Ruster is the bottomless abyss of the dead, also known as the Swamp of Decay. Compared to the game map, it's about 10 times bigger in reality and ridiculously far away. The abandoned well, which handles power-ups and warps in the game, could have helped, but even the well beneath the Demon Lord's castle is not functioning, and he wonders how to balance both farming and fighting, then wonders what he's even worried for, as he is the Demon Lord, and the final boss doesn't personally go out anyways. Of course, he sweet-talks Sergei into it, but she says it's not for his sake. Bale says that he'll do legit anything he wants, and now 2 of the 4 heavenly generals have headed out to battle, and some of the other demons will go out with them. Since they're coming from the boss area, the shortcut system is fully connected. There's a quick route that leads straight to the Swamp of Decay, and that he and Hardik will stay behind and focus entirely on raising potatoes, and all will be well. Inside of the Swamp of Decay, it's fully ablaze, and there are Trent corpses everywhere. We see Planus on their knees in pain, asking Ruster how dare they defy the Demon Lord's command and commit treason. Ruster says that this is a rebellion, but they shouldn't misunderstand, as there was no other choice. Stopping the war now would only lead their demon race to ruin. Planus says that the Demon Lord said he could make the land fertile, and they wouldn't even need to wage war on humans to feed themselves. Ruster says that is not the problem, and that fighting bravely is the pride of their demon race and their history. As Ruster starts to come in with an attack, we see something fly through the air, as it's none other than Baal's weapon knocking Ruster out of his hand. Ruster turns, surprised, and sees both Sergei and Baal. Sergei says that they're a race that fights, and he's right. They do enjoy fighting and killing. And we see Flute running somewhere. But back to Sergei. Sergei asks Ruster if he knows why they became like this and why it ended up the way it has. Flute tells her father to quickly come to the field. Sergei says that now they might finally understand that saving lives rather than taking them can give them an even greater pride, as Flute and the rest are now witnessing a full bloom of fertile land within their region. It's so much that Dyrek and the rest are crying, and even Asurid is holding back his tears. Zephyr and Hardik look accomplished, and Kratos watches as everybody celebrates the fertility. So far, there hasn't been too much that's happened yet. There's an overarching goal: Jankiel just wants to live comfortably, but in terms of actual story progression, we're still pretty early. He hasn't even met Kimchi yet, who's obviously the biggest concern down the line. Now, a lot of you probably heard when I mentioned it earlier, but this series is made by the same people who did The Greatest Estate Developer. So we already know we're in for a really solid time. The structure will likely be the same, not a ton of character development packed into every chapter, but bits and pieces dropped in between all the comedy and chaos. Same with the serious moments, they'll be sprinkled in. That balance is what makes both series so enjoyable and addictive. What makes this story feel unique is that Jankiel isn't just some overpowered isekai protagonist. He's not out here one-shotting enemies for the hell of it. Instead, he's using real-world knowledge, just like Lloyd in Estate Developer, and applying it practically, minus Lloyd just used Javier to beat most things. He's going to start by fixing their food problem. That's step one. But you already know it's going to branch out from there. Slowly but surely, this will turn into a proper empire-building story. It honestly reminds me of playing automation games, like Factorio, Satisfactory, or even certain Minecraft mod packs. That feeling of slowly progressing, building up your systems and infrastructure, then zooming out and just admiring everything you've created. That's what this series taps into. And honestly, I have nothing negative to say about it. I enjoy the comedy. I enjoy the action. I enjoy the characters. So let me briefly touch on each. First up, the action. There's not a ton, at least not yet, but what's there is done well. It's got great pacing, a good sense of fluidity, and it never overstays its welcome. That's all I ask for in a series where action isn't the main draw. It's actually sad that series like this, which aren't action focused, still manage to do action better than some pure battle manhwa. Now, the comedy. Easily the highlight. Right from the first chapter, we knew this would be hilarious. Jankiel's evil little facial expressions. Peak. And it just keeps getting better. The entire situation with Asurid and Fikamir becoming lightning rods, but also the interactions with people and them as rods too. And then you've got Sothel sending out his guys to destroy the field, only for him to turn out to be the hidden goat. That stuff is so dumb, but so funny. All the little interactions between characters make every chapter fun. My absolute favorite running gag right now is the lightning rods. Number 2 has to be the armor unequip / re-equip quantum leap sequence. Every time I see that, I'm just dead. I legit messed up my script a few times just laughing at it. Also, Budget Lloyd and Javier. Anytime they show up, it's pretty funny too. There are tons of little moments like that scattered throughout the series, and we're definitely going to keep getting more of them. Now, in terms of characters, we haven't had a ton of development yet. But there is some. Jankiel started off terrified, unsure of everything. But little by little, as he's built up his tiny empire, he's becoming more confident. He might act cruel sometimes, or at least seem like he is, but we know the truth. He's a good dude. He risked his life to save Flute. That says a lot. I'm sure he'll keep growing, both in stats and personality. I wouldn't be surprised if we eventually get to the point where he's destroying cities just to save his people. Like, if someone kidnaps Flute or Sergei. He'd raise hell to get them back. Speaking of Surjai, she started out cold and mean, but lately folded under zero pressure. Same goes for Hardik. They're both showing signs of that slow shift, even if there's not much more to say about them just yet. Bale is just a giant dumb oaf. Gives off the energy of a big dog. Zephyrus. More of a cat. Nothing major to note yet. As for Asurid, he's basically in the same boat as Surjai. Just at tsundere, but damn I feel bad for bro. That's about it for character development right now. Again, it's still early. My final thoughts. I can't wait to see where this goes. The slow burn of empire building, the gradual world building, the cast slowly becoming more important, it's all going to keep us hooked for a long time. And I'm very excited for the day our magical girl Kimchi finally shows up in the kingdom. Because you know Jankiel is going to convince him to be his Javier. Which will lead to a lot of great moments. If you've watched till the end, comment, Lloyd, to let me know. Subscribe for more videos like this, leave a like or a comment to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.